I went to 2000 Trees Festival in the UK for the very first time, and it was an absolute scorcher. 2000 trees? More like 2000 degrees, was the joke made all the time by every band and every person you were passing by. It was really hilarious the first time you hear it, and then it's like, okay, all right, we get it. It's hot. It was incredible. This summer of festivals in the UK, Download had some glorious weather. Glastonbury was super hot. It rained for my Radar Festival, but that's fine. That's an indoor festival. And then 2000 Trees went, hold my beer. It was 32 freaking degrees. But anyway, enough about the weather. Let's talk about the festival itself. I will go through the live sets from the various bands I did see and what I thought of their performances. But to start with, the festival itself, I think it's one of, if not the smallest outdoor festival I have been to. I've been to, in the UK, largely the bigger hitters like Glastonbury, Download Festival, Reading and Leeds festivals, Lovebox Festival, I think is also maybe a little bit bigger. But size does not matter. What matters is that you had 4 stages. No, 4 big stages and a 5th kind of hidden stage, which is pretty cool, with lots of great music throughout. Lots of up-and-coming bands that are quite interesting, and some veteran legends of the scene as well. So because it's a fairly small area, it's very easy to get between stages, which is excellent when there's a lot of bands you want to see. You don't have to travel far, and especially important if the weather is absolutely scorching, because you want to minimize your movements. But plenty of space to get around in between the different stages. Lots of vendors with excellent food, generally, is my experience. It's a very well catered for event. I mean, the only thing that I am aware of that didn't go quite right was because it was so insanely hot that no one can really fully predict and plan for. Apparently they had to shut off the showers for the campers in order to make sure people still had drinking water. That totally makes sense. I'd rather people could drink water than be like super, super clean. So that was the only kind of hiccup that I'm aware of the festival. But otherwise, it seemed very smooth. Every band that I saw started on time. Everything ran like clockwork. Everyone was very professional and polite and lovely. Like everyone in the bars, everyone working the staff. It was just a very easygoing festival. Super chill, despite the lack of chill of the temperatures. I'm probably going to reference that a few times in this review, I just realized. But yeah, first time there at 2000 Trees, and I really liked it. It was lovely. Plonked in the middle of a bunch of countryside, which is very nice. It kind of felt odd driving to it. At some point, I was like 2 minutes away. Like, I don't see anywhere nearby that I don't hear any music. I don't see any distant tents. And then you turn a corner and suddenly there's a festival there waiting for you, which is lovely. It seemed like a lovely family day out as well. There's a bunch of families there with young kids, all having a marvelous time by the looks of it, and plenty of great live music to check out. And given that there are essentially 5 stages there, you're not lacking for things to see. And if you start seeing a band, you're not completely gelling with it, okay, you can walk 100 meters and see another band instantly. That's great. The only downside I saw, actually, that I personally was affected by, which is nothing that the organizers could do anything about, really, is there were a fair amount of wasps around, because British summer and, people and food and drinks. But so once every hour or so, I think I would have something between like, fuck. And that's about it. It's fine. You just shoo them away. They're all right. I didn't get stung. I didn't hear of anyone getting stung. They're just a bit of a nuisance, but that is what it is. What can you do about wasps? Nothing. If you get stung, drink through the pain. I don't know. Anyway, on to the live sets that I did. I don't know. I'm not recommending that as a medical procedure. If you've been stung by a wasp, I don't think you should just drink through the pain. Can someone let me know in the comments, what do you do if you're stung by a wasp? Is it just like antihistamine? Anyway, I was there to check out the live music across the day and across a bunch of different stages. So I kicked off things for myself with the very first band on of the day on the main stage of Mallavora. I was keen to see them because I'd heard one of their songs before only, actually, and I thought it was pretty good. It showed a really good promise with a variety of sounds going on in there, very well put together, and I thought they did a decent job of performing. I think it was all right. The sound was pretty good. They had some audience interaction moments, so it wasn't just kind of standing up there performing. Yeah, pretty solid performance overall for opening up the main stage, and maybe they were nervous as well. I don't know, but solid. Good job to Mallavora. I then wanted to check out a band called Spare Kid, which I'd only heard of because they're on this lineup, so I had a little listen to them on the way up in the car, and it sounded pretty promising. They were playing on the Forest stage, and I had to ask someone where the hell that was. It's the only stage that didn't have like a sign on it saying the name of it, pretty much, which was a very helpful thing to do. I appreciate that the festival did that, because when you've never been to a festival before, you don't know what the names of the stages are, so you just see a bunch of tents. You're like, I don't know, which one is that? Is that the one I want? So they had some big signs up, very helpful. But the Forest one is sort of hidden, as you might imagine, in a forest.
The way her eyes light up when she sees the Aquarius, explain to her.
So it was a lovely setting to take in some music. There was a nice kind of slice of, sort of, well, at least the bits that I saw, some kind of emo pop punk essentially, but on the acoustic side of things. Possibly just for this performance, I think, because that was a kind of acoustic-y stage. So that was delightful. And then I went to check out another band that I was keen to see, having only listened to them the day of the festival, just looking at the lineup. They're called Eville. They have this sort of rocky drum and bass, sort of angsty, The Prodigy meets Wargasm, I guess, in a way. But I dug it. I mean, they seemed fairly green in terms of their live performances. I don't imagine they've done a lot of performances as yet, so they didn't have a bunch of confidence oozing from them, but the music itself I thought was excellent. I think there's tons of potential there. They did a pretty decent job. They sounded great, and I really liked their songs, actually. They each one of them was interesting in its own way, and they stood up. So I think Eville are ones to watch. Lots of potential there from what seems like a very young band at this stage. And then back over to the main stage for a band I'd not heard of before checking out this festival as well, called Press Club. Like an Australian Marmozets is probably the closest I could describe. They had so much energy, like visual energy. The vocalist was pinwheeling often, jumping up and down, jumping down onto the stage, running back and forth in front of the crowd. Just high-octane performance. It was great. I loved the songs as well. There's some harmony to it. There's a great kind of punchy energy to it. Had a driving sort of delivery. Really, really enjoyed Press Club. One of the standout visual performances, I think, in terms of their confidence and take no prisoners sort of attitude. Very exciting band to watch. And then I think I went to cower in the shade for a little bit because it was so freaking hot. Did I mention it was hot? Before going back to the main stage for Blackgold. I absolutely adored watching Blackgold. I thought the songs were great. They reminded me of like a 2025 era young Limp Bizkit sonically on some of the performance. It had that classic sort of Limp Bizkit new metal delivery. Got some DJ bits and pieces going on. Even the rap style, even the guitar riffs, like it was of that era, and they did it excellently. I thought it was really, really good. Very engaging performance. Worked with the crowd so brilliantly. Balanced that line between not like going, can you please do this? Or like commanding people to just fucking break your necks. In between, knows how to invite people in the right way to get involved and, you know, enjoy themselves to the fullest. It was a really impressive, well-finessed live performance from that regard. I thought the sound was excellent. I really dug the music. Blackgold were one of my top 3 easily favorite bands of the day. I was so impressed. They're fucking excellent. I then headed to a tent stage to check out Hail the Sun. Now you'd think a tent would be less hot because it's shaded, but the heat just sits in there. It was hot, guys. Hail the Sun, apt name for that day, were interesting to me because when I listened to them beforehand, they sounded like they might be kind of like The Used, right? Sort of in that pocket of kind of post-hardcore. So I was keen to check them out, and they were good. They were incredibly loud, like incredibly loud. I always wear earplugs, as should all of you. If you ever go to a gig, wear earplugs. You can't grow these things back. Wear earplugs. And I couldn't stay at the front for too long because it was how freaking loud it was. But that's kind of impressive in its own way. But Their music is kind of chaotic because it's that sort of post-hardcore busyness that I think it's hard for that to translate live if you're not familiar with the songs. So there's one song I'd heard before in particular, which was the one I enjoyed the most, I think because my brain already had a bit of a map to how things would go in the song. But the performance was good. I enjoyed their vocalists' kind of range, got a very high range, very powerful. That was, excellent. Very, very well put together and polished performance by Hail the Sun. Then back on the main stage to check out a band that I was keen to see called The Dangerous Summer. Now I think when I listened to them on record, I thought they're probably going to be sort of similar to a degree to a band called The Story So Far, which I'm a big fan of. But actually, live, something about the performance made me think more of the Kings of Leon. They sort of bridged that gap between emo, post-hardcore, pop-punk-ish to like big stadium rock. It's a very cool, laid-back vibe, but earnest and emotive in its own way, harmonious. Oh, that was great. Really lovely vibe to sit in the lovely sunny day we had there. So Dangerous Summer, definitely impressed. I want to hear more of them. They were good. Then I headed back to one of the tent stages to see one of the most lovely vibes of the entire festival that I was able to enjoy. A band called Delta Sleep, who I'd never heard of before this festival. And oh man, so much to enjoy.
The obstacles inside should never have the right to be part of the problem. But even if we tried, we'd hardly have the time to spend a movie part.
Great vocals, in particular. Really, really good vocals from the guitarist, who seemed to be like the main singer. I think the drummer might have been singing as well, because he also did a lot of chatting on the mic between the songs, so he had his own mic there. He had the most amazing snare sound. I fucking loved his snare. It almost had this kind of reggae ska edge to it, whilst also being sort of atmospheric chill music. It was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed them. And as I was feeling a little hot and sweaty, it's a nice moment to just kind of relax in the shade, take things easy, and just bask in the lovely sounds that they could create. Very, very, very good band. Really enjoyed Delta Sleep. Then I think I went to the press tent for a bit to cower in the shade and just point my battery-powered fan at my face for a little bit to re-energize before going back out into the scorching heat to check out Trash Boat on the main stage. I've seen Trash Boat a couple times now before. They're a very good band. They know how to perform well. They're very slick. They are very energetic. The sound was good. The performance was visually engaging. Excellent band, you know? Good, solid pop rock with some excellent choruses here and there as well. Big sing-alongs. And they finished on, one of their biggest hits. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was, a lovely, seemingly cathartic for them as well. It seemed like that particular gig meant a lot to them. Wonderful moment in the sun with Trash Boat. And then it was time to go and get angry with Graphic Nature. Goodness me, they were full tilt. I'm aware of their music, having heard a few of their songs before, and I'd seen them live at Download Festival a few years ago, briefly, on one of the stages there, and I thought, I like the songs, I like the idea of it, they're fucking cool. I like that band. But live, it didn't quite land for me a few years ago. However, 2000 Trees, clearly they've been honing it, and it's at a really fucking good spot right now. Graphic Nature were excellent. Really good. Sounded great. They were very engaging. It was full throttle from start to finish, and I really enjoyed it. Also, respect to them in the heat of this freaking insane day. They were still committing to like the rain jacket, anorak, whatever that's what it's called, with the hood. The drummer's wearing that whole thing with the hood for a few songs, and he took it off, and he's like, I can't. But fair play. For a while there, that must have been very sweaty. And then back to the forced stage, which is excellent for a bit of shade, by the way. I really need to stop talking about the weather. This is getting boring. I'm sorry. I won't mention it again. I'm lying. It was so hot. I went back to the forest stage to check out Hevenshe. That was a wonderful environment to enjoy some acoustic pop rock with exceptionally good vocals. Wow. I mean, pitch perfect, but also just full-bodied character. She has an incredible live voice, so that was one to enjoy. And there's some lovely sing-along moments here and there, and I enjoyed the whole thing, especially in that environment. I'd love for more festivals to have that sort of setup. It was great. Also, it was shaded because of the trees. Big plus. But yeah, I enjoyed Hevenshe. And then it was the band I was most looking forward to seeing at this festival in Coheed and Cambria. They absolutely ripped from start to finish. Perfect sound, brilliant performances. They've got very technical songs and they just nailed all of it. That was exceptional. Claudio's voice just arched over the festival in a beautiful way. It was so wonderful. And they played a bunch of songs off their new record, of course, and they were great. There's some songs on there that really translated well live in particular, so that was marvelous. They played my favorite one off the record, which was when Someone Who Can. I can never remember the name of that. Someone Who Can? Let me look that up. Someone Who Can. Yes, that's it. I can never get that song right. Even when I interviewed Claudio on my podcast a few months ago, I think then I scrambled the name and he very politely, during his answer, sort of corrected it, which is very nice of him. Anyway, loved seeing their performance. They also played some fantastic throwback songs. Like they played A Favor House Atlantic. They played A Blood Red Summer. Like two of my absolute favorite songs. They played some of their epic songs as well, the 8 to 9 minute long ones from In Keeping Secrets from Silent Earth. Yeah, it was a whole moment. That Coheed and Cambria in the glorious sunshine of 2000 Trees was the peak of the day for me, I think. That was absolutely gorgeous. Incredible band. Fabulous performance. As expected, but even delivered beyond that. Really wonderful set list. Covering a bunch of ground, and it seemed to go down well with everyone that was there. Coheed and Cambria were fucking awesome. Then it was on to the headline band of the day for me on the main stage, Taking Back Sunday. That's a band I've been listening to for over 20 years now. So it was an amazing burst of nostalgia for me anytime they played songs I was familiar with from the older days, which they did quite earlier on in the set as well. I think the set list was very well balanced, spanned the career as you might hope for a headline set at a festival such as this one. And I really enjoyed it, at the front of the crowd especially, where you have lots of people that are really keen on the band, singing along. You can feel all their excitement and see in detail the energy of the band and the performance there. It's nice and loud and present. I really, really enjoyed the parts I saw at the front. Is a very eccentric vocalist, very interesting character and personality, and as a result kind of varied some of the vocal deliveries of things to almost like kind of like a preacher or like a spoken word delivery at times, which I don't mind because it reminds you every time that happens. This is live. This is just in this moment. It's not an exact replica of the recording. That for me makes the live performance a little bit special. So I really enjoyed those aspects of it. The band themselves, all the musicians were super tight. It was, a very, very good set. He's still not the greatest of strengths of live vocalists in the rock universe, in my opinion. There's a little bit of weaknesses here and there, technically in terms of actual power and delivery at times. But the songs were good enough, it didn't really matter. So I really enjoyed seeing Taking Back Sunday. Again, great, varied set list. Felt like an appropriate headliner. It was lovely. And they capped off my one and only day thus far at 2000 Trees. It was a treat. I really enjoyed it. And I know I banged on about the weather a bit because it was too fucking hot. But that's a small gripe. To be honest, I would still rather it be that kind of day that's very hot and sunny than have it be raining, and they get kind of a muddy field. So I'm going to stop complaining about how hot it was. We were able to cope. You wear a baseball cap, you put on sunscreen. If you can, you bring a battery-powered fan. That's a game changer. Highly recommend it. And keep hydrated with water or beer. It's fine. You can totally make it work. And the live music themselves were varied and very good overall. Really enjoyed that. The facilities, decent. The Offering of food, actually excellent. Great range of different kind of food stalls. Easy to get drinks at the bar. I never have to wait that long for that. Never have to wait long to use toilets. You could easily as well get to the front of any crowd you wanted to see, pretty much. You know, it's a very chilled out audience. No one's there in any kind of angry, shoulders out sort of mood. Very wonderful experience overall. I'm very interested in going to see a full festival at some point. Hopefully next year I can make it work with scheduling, but that was great. A really lovely festival. Bang in the middle of some glorious countryside. With some badass fucking rock music. What's not to love? So those are my thoughts. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to those. If you did, make sure you subscribe to this channel. It's free to do so. And then YouTube knows to send you more videos like this where I review live festivals or live gigs. I also review music as well, doing reaction videos. And I have a podcast where I interview bands. So there's lots of excellent rock and metal music content available here, should you wish to come along for the journey. Thank you for checking this out. Hopefully I'll see you in another one of these videos very soon.